Hi, in the second half of version 2.2, we'll be getting the Cyborg Cowboy Boothill. Boothill is a very strong single target DPS that uses a once wasted stat to completely turn the meta around. However, is his break effect focused kit strong enough to compete against our pre-existing DPSs? And is he worth it to pull over more traditional DPSs? Well, here are 3 reasons why you should pull for Boothill and 3 reasons why you should not pull for Boothill. Before we start, I'll be giving away 2 supply passes / welcome in / crystal card to my subscribers at 5k subs, so make sure you subscribe to enter. If you don't know what Boothill does, I have a guide link in the description, but in a nutshell, he is a 5-star physical hunt DPS. His skill locks him onto a single target, then which he can only use a newly gained Empower basic attack. His ultimate applies physical weakness and delays their action, and his talent increases his break efficiency and damage against weakness broken enemies. Overall, it's actually a pretty simple kit, but since his kit focuses so heavily on enemies' toughness, it may feel a bit new and a bit complex to get your head around. However, let me reassure you, he is a very simple unit in practice and will be very strong in practice too. As that brings me onto the 3 reasons why you should pull for Boothill. Number 1. Boothill is a monster in single target content. Pretty obviously, if they're gonna be making a character not scale off the traditional DPS stats like attack and crit, they have to match the scaling in the new stats, and that's exactly what they did with Boothill. However, it turns out that the quote-unquote match scaling is actually wrong and Boothill actually does insanely more damage. This makes Boothill the strongest single target DPS. And honestly, if you take the blast or AoE factor out of our current strongest DPSs like Lune and Acheron, Boothill actually could be the highest damage DPS in the game. All that is to say, especially with the new single target focused endgame content coming out, Apocalypse the Shadow, Boothill will be a prime meta option for single or low target content. Number 2. Boothill's ultimate and technique can apply physical weakness. This is not a debuff, but rather an outright application of the weakness. First of all, this eliminates the reliance on Silverwolf for non-physical weak content, and that means that it frees up one spot for a much better buffer, while also meaning that he can be played much more often, as even if the enemy isn't physical weak, he can just apply it. Secondly, as I said, this is not a debuff, so no need to watch out for your effect hit rate or the enemy's effect res. This makes him a much more comfortable unit, but more than anything, it means that we can fully utilize the most broken weakness break in the game, being physical break, which is what the element of Boothill is. Number 3. Boothill is a very straightforward unit to build. This means that Boothill is actually one of the easiest units to build, as no more worrying about optimizing attack versus crit, and no more worrying about how much crit rate before focusing on crit damage. You can simply look for break effect and speed to get the most out of your Boothill. But with that being said, it's not like he particularly dislikes getting attack or crit, since his most commonly used attack, being his enhanced basic attack during his skill state, does scale off attack and crit. In addition to his free crit rate and crit damage due to his major trace, getting a good crit value on him is not that hard either. So this all means that he has a lot of good substats he can use, and building him will be much easier compared to other DPSs. However, with all that being said, being an untraditional DPS also brings many problems, so here are 3 reasons why you should not pull for Boothill. Number 1. Boothill's kit basically purely scales off break effect. With the way his kit works, going any other stat other than break effect is actually very inefficient. Although I mentioned how crit and attack is actually not the end of the world, but it's pretty close, as you have to first reach 300 break effect to fully activate his major trace. Then even after 300 break effect, the strength of getting more break effect versus attack or crit is still in favor of break effect. This means that although there are less nuances to worry about for his substats, the overall issue still exists, as aiming for one stat, being break effect, is much harder than aiming for 3 stats, being attack, crit rate and crit damage. So this means that reaching the same investment level on your Boothill might be much harder compared to other traditional DPSs. And for some, you may have to completely start farming anew, since you might have accidentally salvaged some insane relics that only works for him. Number 2. Rome is essentially an irreplaceable teammate for Boothill. While I will not go as far as to say that he needs Rame in every situation, since honestly, Harmony MC is also an absolutely insane support for Boothill, Rame no doubt propels Boothills to greater heights, making him truly a monster in single target. This is thanks to Rame's break efficiency and action delay for weakness broken enemies. Boothill really only starts to do damage after the enemy is broken, so the break efficiency is absolutely insane. Then, due to the way his talent works, he wants to be hitting weakness broken opponents. Ramei delaying the actions of weakness broken opponents is literally perfect for him, as it means that he has more windows to use his insane talent damage. So while I wouldn't say don't pull for him if you don't have Ramei, waiting for Ramei first, then pulling for him on the rerun, or holding off on building Boothill until Ramei's rerun might be in your best interest. Number 3. Boothill's whole kit revolves around weakness breaks. So that means that if the enemy is hard to break or cannot be weakness broken, Boothill will feel extremely bad to play. Not to say his other parts of his kit does no damage, but for most people, you are not really going to be building that much crit or attack, so if you can't use his talent break damage, it really hurts Boothill and can make him feel a lot worse than he really is.